Well, already time to have a look at what we can expect in the month of February ahead. As we had a look at the year ahead, we saw that one of the things we're going to be seeing this year is increased resistance against the ESCOM issues and an increased organizing of people. One of the main themes that emerged from our look at the year ahead was how people are becoming more active, and the response to ESCOM's electricity crisis and the government's failure to handle it is causing people to become organized, and new groupings and organizations to emerge to fight. Well, as we've seen in the last week, a lot of that has already started to happen fast, and looking at the month ahead, it's accelerating even more so. There is a very strong emphasis on what we used to call unrest, and I think still pretty much is that, but that area of the chart is very strongly disrupted at the moment. We can expect increasing, perhaps from on the one hand, simple acts of unrest, rioting and stone throwing, to things like sabotage, which we've seen before, but this time not just about the efforts to perpetuate the corruption at ESCOM, but also as a statement against them in some way, just people getting really upset. More important than that, of course, is the groupings of oppositional forces, and a very powerful theme in the chart this month is this increased power of opposition, both from the groupings that are happening in that way and from individual type of oppositions. For example, the court cases that are being levied against the government, or the efforts by the official opposition to challenge the government and perhaps even lead to intergovernmental dispute. All of these things are developing rapidly, and more rapidly than our famously incredibly slow-moving president probably knows how to handle, because it looks from the chart like he's increasingly retreating into hidden, and that seems to be increasing to his detriment. One thing Ramaphosa appears to suffer from is an inability to really read the people, and one of the things that brought him to power in 2019 was his popularity, and the way that he managed to kind of grab the mood and get people to like him personally. And he's still trading on that. And as true as that may have been, things can turn on a dime, as they say in the classics, and he perhaps doesn't appreciate that people can start hating him just as quickly as they started suddenly liking him. And that's what this chart threatens at the moment. There seems to be an increasingly rapid tide of sentiment against the president himself, and his response to that is to somewhat enter into retreat and just be seen less and say less and so on. If I remember correctly, the kind of strategy that didn't suit Thabo Mbeki very well, didn't serve him very well in the last stages of his presidency, where he did more or less the same thing. I don't know if it's a threat to the presidency. Looking at the chart doesn't look great for his presidency, but the real issue, as I've said, is his against the people and the people against him. That is also something that the energy minister is concerned about. We know that his efforts to shift the blame about ESCOM are partially at least related to his relationship with Labour. And despite his efforts to maintain that through his denial and blaming and accusations, his relationship with Labour doesn't look like it's going too well. So the unions and other forces that represent Labour are beginning to increasingly see through some of Mantashe's claims. That's not everyone. As we know, there's always plenty of people who are going to believe that and latch onto that as a way of perpetuating their own agendas, etc. That remains an issue. But the truth is, the Labour area, the relationships with Labour area, the services provided, and the president's responses and relations to that are all looking really shaky in the chart. What we see out there is a great reflection of the chart, but what the chart is showing is that it's getting a lot worse, a lot more quickly than perhaps government realizes, but that certainly serves the opposition at this point. As we've said before, we need a tipping point to be reached, and it looks like it's coming a lot faster than government might anticipate. With all of this, not unexpectedly, financial things are beginning to look a little more shaky as that increases over the course of the growing recession and the challenges to the population being caused by the electricity crisis. This financial situation looks very unstable, but government is managing to gain resources from partially, we don't even know where. There does seem to be some secretive relationships, that we don't know about, and that these are serving the government, especially financially at the moment. Presumably some of that is in their own direct interest. We know the ANC is desperately trying to claw at any donors it can get their hands onto, but that also seems to be at some level benefiting the government. Where do they get the billions required to run diesel? There seem to be some sources that we're unaware of that are gradually increasing. South Africa's relationships with other countries are largely looking good. It's just that these are not the usual countries. We know that the president missed Davos in order to make it look like he was worried about the electricity crisis. It was probably really related to his relationships with members of other states and having to maintain face in front of them, which he might not have wanted to do, especially in the light of whatever other relationships are on the side and wherever else he might be drawing financial resources from in order to meet this electricity crisis. And that is continuing to happen behind the scenes. On the other hand, in general, all these relationships with other countries do serve us well and does seem to be strengthening our confidence in ourselves, if you like, and also strengthening our financial reserves. Nevertheless, things are not what they seem. We can see that the way that we see ourselves, the image that we're projecting into the world, there's a lot of fakery and deception going on. And although none of it is new, it has escalated to a level that we haven't really seen before. At first, at the very least, it is going to benefit us because it is helping some of the needed resources come in, and in that light, things look very strong, but it's also creating some potential future conflict. So basically, we have a country and especially a president that is now walking on a tightrope, and that president is a lot more vulnerable than even he might realize. And this time, it's not the ANC that he has to worry about, probably still has to worry about that, but this time he needs to realize fast that people are turning against him as fast as they turned for him. It's as simple as that. Let's see what we can expect for you. Aries, this is the month to get your financial house in order. It has been a little bit shaky in recent months. It doesn't look like there's a major challenge to it, and that's the good news. Getting your financial house in order doesn't mean fix the problem. It means now that the problem is much less than usual, this is time to really get on top of it. And this is a great opportunity to get on top of it in a way that you can be sure of some increase more and more as the year goes on. However, there are also some things you're not in control of with respect to that. It's looking great for unexpected resources, gains that you might have forgotten about, even for some of you, gains that you didn't earn. That can mean winning things. Not everyone's going to win something, and usually gains that we didn't earn are other ways that resources come to us. And for most Aries, that's going to be it. Bonuses, unexpected help from someone, etc. This is the time to get it all in, but see it in the context of a bigger strategy and build your resources. This is the time for that, especially since some uncertainty will inevitably follow. Be careful on what you're putting out into the immediate environment. It looks like you're spending on people and circumstances around you a little bit recklessly. Don't act like you're the person with unlimited resources, even if temporarily you are. This is the time, remember, to be thinking ahead. Strengthen your fortress now, and you're good for months to come. Taurus, for the most part, it looks like all your relationships are going fairly smoothly at this time, and you need to look a little bit closer at which ones are really working for you at the moment and which ones need to be a little bit more prioritized. It does look like that for many Taurians, there's old connections or general connections that just don't do it for you anymore. And this is a time to clean and make sure that it's the ones that really count that are in your sphere. In fact, many of those will be old connections as well. Look who you can really trust is really being a source of support. It is, on the whole, a great time for friendship, Taurians, and this is also where you can just make sure you're prioritizing those people who really are true friends, especially since at this time it looks like help in pursuing goals, getting things that you really want, might come from friends around you, or it looks more like it's the translation of how to do this. You might have great ideas and great plans, but you're not going to be able to do that without some input from the people around you. You know, this is the month of Aquarius, and Aquarians are often great with ideas. Your chart looks like you're connecting with people who are great with ideas. So accept invitations to birthday parties, just find out who's hot at the moment, because it looks like that's going to benefit you as well. But the important thing is, all around, you're really building connections that are going to help you fulfill your goals. Gemini, February is a great opportunity to just build that root, that foundation a little bit more solidly. Last year had its ups and downs, and there was a lot on your plate, but it looks like you're able to consolidate now and focus on what's really important. February is the month you find out how. And how do you do that? It's the balancing of head and heart. For once, head and heart look like they are in the same place, although it must be said, not unexpectedly for a Gemini, the head is still winning. So a great question to ask yourself through this month is, am I listening to my heart? And it's a great question because if you are listening to your heart is talking loud and clear in the month of February. It's like saying, you know what you want, you know what's best for you right now. Don't fool yourself, rather just go for it, because it looks like going for it is really going to make it work. Nevertheless, there are some unexpecteds that have to happen, and there are things that need to shake you up a little bit to have it work the way that it should, and that's why you need to be listening to your heart as well, because your intuition is really great at the moment. It does look like something from the past, whether it's something that you're worrying about or something that's a little bit unfinished, is still hanging over your head, and maybe the way to get February really undergo is just deal with the unfinished business, deal with what's been lingering, whatever it is, get that out of the way, and then head and heart can work together to get some goals done. Cancerians, it looks like you're worrying about too much too soon. The year has only just begun. Don't dump everything onto your shoulders. You are going to stress yourself out completely unnecessarily, because it looks like a month where actually it should be quite easy to achieve some of those goals, especially, of course, as usual for Cancerians, the personal goals. It's a great month for getting things done with a minimal amount of effort, but it looks like old patterns, especially old patterns of either punishing yourself or pushing yourself too hard, are rearing their heads, and it's just not necessary. The doors want to open for you, Cancerians, this month, so take advantage of it. In fact, professional goals look set to really go ahead and produce great big gains, as long as you've dealt with that lingering feeling of, be it guilt or whatever it is that's making you push yourself a little bit too hard. Children at this time will be a great source of good input. Of course, that's especially your own children, but all younger people are a great source of energy for you at the moment, because it looks like the goals that you have could really impact a lot of people. It's a good time to be doing things that affect, be it young people, be it the world, things that are new in some way that people will be excited about. Looks like those are the goals to go for. If it's got nothing to do with other people, there's some goals that could excite you too. Ask yourself, what do I need to do that's new, that's just a little bit exciting, and go for that. Leos, it looks like it's time to really knuckle down and get back into work, even though it doesn't look like that's exactly what you want to be doing, and it doesn't even necessarily look like that's what's going to be the most satisfying thing to do this month. It's just the stuff that's got to get done. It's kind of like you need to get back on that bicycle and make it happen, because there seems to be a lot of people depending on you, or just lots of other circumstances around you that you're at the center of, and everything is looking at you. So you need to make sure in circumstances like that that you don't lose sight of your own personal reasons why you're doing what you're doing, and your own personal goals that might be wrapped up in goals that now seem to be serving something larger than you. If your work or your goals are related to communities, environments of people greater than yourself, then this is really great for that. And it's even great for that if it isn't, but you do need to make sure that you're able to identify personal goals in some way. It also looks like this is a great time for friends, for people who are really supportive of you. The way to balance out this need for your energy to go out for everyone is to get that energy back in terms of personal connection and personal support. Friendship is a very powerful thing at this time in your life. It is also going to bring you great resources to strengthen you up. So keep yourself in balance. Put out a lot of energy, get back the energy from the loved ones, all goes well. Virgo, it's another one of those times when you need to get them to serve you instead of that usual Virgo cliche of you want to serve everyone and be helpful to everyone. Like all cliches, that remains true, but nevertheless, it looks like you really stand to gain by people doing stuff for you for once. So perhaps you need to assert that. Perhaps you just need to adjust your schedule so that you're actually on the receiving end instead of the giving end for one. And that is especially true when it comes to your professional goals at the moment. It seems that you might even actually be depending on others, but these others are really willing to give it all to you. And that's what's important right now. It's like you're the one. So even if you think, I don't want to take all the acclaim or the benefits in some way, it's just the natural benefit of things. In fact, you might not be seeing yourself really clearly at the moment, and it could be a good idea to get someone else's opinion and just get someone else's perspective so that you realize this is one of those times when it's your time. So just take advantage of that. You're not listening to your heart with respect to some of or one of your goals. Someone around you might also be able to help you with that so that you know what's really, really good for you and what it really is that you want, because sometimes we're not the best judge of that. Take some input from people who care. Libra, things have been going so well for you that you might have actually lost a little bit of the vigilance that is always required when pursuing your goals and agendas, especially because right now there are people around you who are thinking what's in it for them. It doesn't mean they're out to get you, but it does mean that their interests are not quite the same as your interests. So you need to make sure that in terms of the people who work with you or for you, that your interests or your company's interests are being met as well. It might mean that you need to look at the relationships with people around you or with workers and make sure that there's just some equitable understanding and sharing or whatever is required. It might even not be so much related to professional life as life in general or other resources that you have where people feel that you are either an easy touch at the moment to get something from you or that you are vulnerable and they're going to take advantage of that. Good news is that there are people that you know and trust and have probably known and trusted for a very long time who are there to strengthen and support your boundaries. So this month, allow others to help you with those boundaries. Allow loved ones to create some of those boundaries for you. Quite simply, you're just being a little bit too slack and a little bit too friendly in the nicest possible way, and it's time just to make sure some of those boundaries are in place. Scorpio, it's your think out of the box month, and you really need to push yourself to find new ways and new avenues to get what you need to be done. And that can mean people around you, not just any old people, the people closest to you. Best for those are actually usually family members, but for many Scorpios that might not apply. For those Scorpios where it does apply, whether it's to do with your professional goals, goals related to your personal life or your family life, this is a time where you need to be attending to what your family input is all about, what the family is expecting and demanding or willing to give you. But for many Scorpios, it's really just a time where you need to get other intellectual resources in. That's usually in the shape of people, but it can mean you need to learn something new or gain some new skills or explore something in that regard in order to achieve what you want to achieve. Be aware that there's a potential for conflict with someone in your immediate environment as well that could distract you completely from what this goal is all about. This is not a time to get drawn into conflict and not a time to have to defend your position either. So you need to make sure that they're on the same page as you, or you shake hands and move on and not engage in something. But this is a time where other people need to provide you with the information you need, so keep the peace so that can happen. Sagittarius, hopefully your professional goals are aligned with your personal goals. But if not, well, this is the time when the personal goals are most likely to succeed. But it does look like you might be being a little slack or a little overconfident in the situation, even though that confidence is going to serve you. So yes, be strong, project your image into the world. People are responding to you as they usually do, but the fact remains that you could be a little bit of deluding yourself in the process. So it is important at this time to make sure that what you're doing and what your personal path is all about is well aligned with whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. But those things are being achieved. For the self-employed, this is a great time. These things are really going to work for you. But even if you're in a larger situation, you need to just identify and perhaps ring fence a little bit. What are my personal tasks? What really works for me in that way? What are my personal responsibilities in this bigger professional context? And being kind of on a selfish focus on those, whatever the context is that allows you to do that. But focusing a little bit more selfishly on your own goals all round is going to work really well for you. You are the lucky one in the zodiac, and it looks like that luck is running high this month. That really means a little output produces a lot of results for you. So take advantage of that, put it out there. It looks like the gains are coming in thick, fast, and easy for you, Sagittarius. Yes, Capricorn, we have just come to the end of the holiday period. You've had your birthday and all of those things going on, but judging by this chart, it doesn't look like you got that much rest and relaxation, even if you were having fun in the process. So hopefully this is going to be an opportunity to do that, although it doesn't look like it. It looks like you're being really constructive this month because good results can happen. So maybe let's just delay that a bit further, but spending time alone, quiet time, meditation, doing your own thing, that's really important. You just got to build your strength because it looks like you're moving into an increasingly busy year and there's not going to be much time to catch a breath. So this is that time to catch a breath. You're in a strong position at the moment, and it looks like a female or females are around you that can really also help in regard to building up your sense of your own strength at this time. So take advantage of that help. It looks like you can make changes, you can shake things up a little bit at this time, because as you move into this month ahead, goals are beginning to be fulfilled, and you'll see that your new plans, your intentions for this year, whatever exactly it is, are really working for you at this time. This could also be a time then to set some bigger goals for yourself, time to break out of that safe, secure, and satisfying fulfillment of goals you've been doing so far. Set something bigger and a little bit more challenging for yourself. That's going to make you rise to the occasion. Aquarians, it's all about you. That birthday is coming up, but you need to remember that as the birthday approaches, your energies are unusually low. And this is a time when you really need to just pull back and wait until a little bit of time has passed since your birthday. Even though it looks like you're in a situation where there's plenty of opportunity to give, to fulfill your idealistic ways of looking at your community really successfully, you need to go really, really slowly. So Aquarians, this is also a month to learn to delegate, to allow other people to fulfill some of the tasks that you think only you can or should do. And it looks like there's willing helpers. This is a great month for friendship, a great month for input for other people, even though you seem to be wanting to do it all yourself. If you can get away in any kind of a way, Aquarius, this is retreat month for you. You could benefit enormously by just giving yourself some of that time to get away from it all and let that retreating happen. That also means it's a great time for your spiritual life, to look more closely at your spiritual life. That always works around the time of your birthday. Set some deeper goals for yourself this month. Set some more fulfilling ideas of how can you satisfy that need you have to be a member of a bigger world and a bigger society. This is the month where you're really perceiving that's why you need to retreat, but in the end, that's what gives you the ability to fulfill that goal. Pisces, everything looks to be really workable and working for you at this time. It does look like you can be a little bit of your own worst enemy, and unfortunately in the usual Piscean way. That doesn't mean you need to blame yourself. It actually means you've got the power to change it. So the usual Pisces way is about being a little bit slack, just not getting it together, worrying a little bit about too much about what everyone else needs or wants in the situation and trying to align yourself to everyone else's will, well, this is not a time for that. Also because you need to come across more strongly at this time. Other people need to see what it is you're doing and what it is you want. A little really goes a long way. You'll discover that if you just push the slightest amount of energy into the world, people are falling at your feet. The world really wants it from you. So this is time to get your ideas out into the world, to show your creativity, to even show some leadership or something like that, because it looks like everyone is just waiting for you and you're the one who's drifting and hesitating and so on. So this is something that's reasonably easy to fix. Show them that what you want. Also, it looks like a month of easy rewards, especially from pursuing your own goals and your own ideas. So focus on that in the best possible way, especially creative ideas or ideas you've had up your sleeve a really long time. Now's the time to kick them into action and watch them develop once your birthday passes. Well, we certainly live in a country where the excitement never ends, but somehow the people manage to stay on top of it. That's you and me and us. So stay tuned for another exciting episode in the life of South Africa. I'll see you again next week.